Hey there, welcome to EcoCulture, where we do the shimmy, along with our guest Sadhu. We try to teach you how to be part of the solution. And the way we do that is by bringing you the greatest guests who aren't just playing the game, they're changing the rules. They are showing us that sustainable living, being eco-aware, it's not hard. And you know what? It can actually be kind of fun. And our guest today is Sadhu. Now it's one word like share, right? Is it Sadhu or Sadhu?
I can tell you a funny story. There was a gentleman when I was in Los Angeles. He was helping fix my VW bus, right? And we lived in like the home of the homeless, where my friend had a studio, and it was lovely, a loft. Anyway, the gentleman was calling me Shamu all day long, and I didn't correct him because he thought it was so sweet and endearing. But the name is Sadhu, like I saw dew on the grass, right? Sadhu.
He was calling he was calling you Shamu like the whale all
Yes.
day. And not once did you correct him.
Right on, Shamu. I got you. I was like, good, baby. You got me.
I wouldn't correct him either. I want to let it ride because it's such a good time.
So to this day, he remembers that really cool, chill afternoon, evening, whatever, with Shamu.
Yeah, fixing Shamu's VW bus that I lived in after
Wow.
first forays into sustainable living. It was to compress everything in the VW bus.
Oh my goodness. That is the best possible way to start this. Are you drinking something out of a coconut?
It is a gourd. I'm not sure exactly which gourd variation it is, but you see the artwork there. This is
Oh wow.
Indian. It's yerba mate, yerba mate.
Of course.
Right. Yerba mate. So I kind of practically live on this stuff.
I have green tea going on in here,
Right.
even though I made it hours ago. Oh,
Mhm.
I should mention that Loritza, of course, is here. Loritza from The World We Wear,
Hello.
which is another Navarre Films production. If you want more information on Navarre Films, you can go to navarrefilmsllc.com. Sadhu, our producer, executive producer for Navarre Films, Ellie Logue,
Yeah.
as I was saying earlier, just speaks the world of you and was so excited when you agreed to come on this show. I would like to ask you, what magic powder or power do you have that makes this gal who knows every movie star in the book? What do you got? What do you do that makes her get starstruck over you? I've never seen her like that about anybody.
You know, like if you could have like maybe Johnny Cash and Iggy Pop and Debbie Harry all had a baby, and that baby's motto in life was, "I'm too blessed to be stressed." That's uh,
Y'all,
my role.
y'all. You also have this like Moby vibe going on. Remember Moby? Nobody seems to remember Moby.
Remember him?
I loved Moby.
I think so. Sadhu has when we got to meet, I got to spend a wonderful evening with you, and you shared some pretty amazing stories about your travels around the world when you did modeling, and how you would be like, "Oh, I'm going to jump on a plane and just go do this thing because why not? Life's too short." And so just so you know, Jonathan, Sadhu has like he needs to write several books about his journeys and world travels. And for Novare Films, Sadhu actually you went to the other side of the planet, I want to say.
Yeah, yeah, to the largest human gathering in human history. Yeah,
Yeah.
back
I,
alive.
I, oh, I'm sorry. The largest human gathering in human history.
That's right.
Okay. All right. So then here's my other question. I still want you to answer the Ellie question, but
Okay.
the follow-up, I'm asking the follow-up before he answered the initial. The follow-up is, what do you do? And then where can we learn to do it?
Wow. Honestly, I'm not trying to be facetious, and kind of vague, but honestly, what I do is I honor the intelligence of our heart, right? When I say ours, I mean it when I say our heart as one, because all of life, all living beings, the universe itself, and obviously Mother Earth, Father, Son, and all that, in my perception, is literally one heart. And if I do anything, what I do is I breathe through that heart as if that heart is breathing. And so ultimately, that's what I do. And then what I do impactfully with others or whatever comes from that. And renewable energy is part of that, listening to our elders is part of that, being able to, have the privilege and the pleasure to sit with you and Loritza and Ellie and Anna and listen to their visions and support them and bring whatever I can in genuine service, to the best of my ability. That's what I do. What I wake up, to breathe and live every.
I hear you, and that was poetic. But I also heard Loritza say, you were a model? Are you still a model?
I could be if you have an agent and you want to set something up. I love direct bookings, by the way. That's my
Oh my
favorite.
God. Oh my God. Like, okay. So we've never met, but I work in mostly commercial work and corporate training work, but I also direct commercials. I do, independent features here and there, theater background. Teleprompter is my specialty, and I do a lot of hosting work, more so daytime or late night. But every time my agents contact me, I'm always like, ugh, because I know I'm going to negotiate better than they will. So I'm not going to make as much money. And B, why do you need for a commercial? Why do you need to see me give a look of satisfied restraint for the audition, right? Like I have a demo reel. Watch the demo reel. Book me directly. Let's get it booked now. Why are we taking so the fact that you said that, I am now starting to understand why everybody who meets Sadhu is like, you got to meet this guy. That's incredible.
you I'm being sincere. That's the thing
I
too.
know you are. That's why I'm I'm a little over the top, and that's kind of what the whole showbiz hosting thing is, but I do mean what I'm saying. We've been talking for less than 10 minutes and you already mentioned direct booking to me. We're best friends.
Jonathan, I know that you love that.
And I honestly also love like directness. You know what I mean? If you're going to speak and do whatever we're doing, let's be direct. I mean, literally, like with the world, we don't have time to beat around the bush, man. And it's not just about whether renewable is good or not. It's like if we don't really get it together, the air is diminishing from the planet as we speak. You know what I mean? I'm not a doomer, but that's just the truth. There's like a bonfire in the room, and there's only so much oxygen left. You know? And I mean, we can
Waste no time. Waste no time.
just be real about that. You know what I mean? Let's just drop the pretense and get to it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
We need this to be a two-part episode. I have so many questions for you. I want to start with my first one, which is how did you meet Ellie Logue?
Wow. You know, I'll answer that in two parts. When I was teaching yoga full time and built up a center in Miami and whatnot, and traveled the world and everything. And PBS, by the way, when we went to that large gathering 12 years ago, because they're on cycles of 12, PBS kind of found us along the way before we got to our final destination with Sadvi, who's my dear friend, who I went to visit this last time. And PBS was following us, and we became a part of the PBS international special that they did called Sacred Journeys. And when I was teaching yoga a lot before I had my children, people would come up to me and they would be gushing on me and they would go, "Oh my God, you're so peaceful and you're so sweet." And I would just simply say, "I'm just a mirror of you, sweet. I'm just mirroring back your beauty. That's all I'm doing, you know." And so now I was on, and I went to a friend of mine is a humanitarian. His name is Michael Capone. He's my dear soul brother. Like if there's one, when you have a soul brother and a soul sister, that the one like BFF that you've got, Michael Capone is that for me. I love the man tremendously. He was called the King of Miami Beach, like the King of Miami Beach back in the days. Like, he'd have pictures with Bill Clinton and superstars and rock stars. And I saw Michael skateboarding on the street, with like, dirty hair and passing out flyers back in the day promoting clubs when I was getting into modeling, working with Mickey Rourke, you know what I mean? Watching Mickey get into street fights and shit, like before I went off and traveled the world. Michael is back like a street rat skater promoting clubs. Now he is actually, honestly, probably one of the most successful humanitarians on the face of the earth. Because what he does is his frontline kind of first responder global empowerment mission. There, like Michael would be a person who would go and put on a bulletproof vest, literally go on the front lines of Ukraine and literally pull babies out of rubble. That's how Michael is. But he is an astute businessman and a philanthropist to the thousandth degree. And his nonprofit is probably one of the most successful at actually taking the funds and getting them to where they should be in the people's hands in the form of food, in the form of shelter, in the form of medicine, or whatever they actually need. And it doesn't get sucked up into bureaucracy. Michael is a master of that. And so,
And what's his charity called?
a global empowerment mission.
Global Empowerment Mission.
I can probably talk to Michael and you can interview him too. He's a sweetie.
Oh, we would love that. We would love that.
So now Michael sponsored me to go and do ayahuasca when I had a kind of a family rupture, and it was really intense. And Michael's he's there for me like I'm there for him. He was in an accident one time, and he had a head injury, and it was really really intense. And he called me, and I went to the emergency room, and it was one of those moments. And so I was in a critical place, and Michael sponsored me to come to Miami and do an ayahuasca journey with his journeyman that had been with him for almost a decade, and so he's very, very precious. And the night after that, I prepared a deck for our renewable energy company for Ellie because a yoga colleague and student of mine he and I had reacquainted ourselves after like 10 years. I had babies. We moved away and I hadn't seen him. I saw him on LinkedIn and I said, Carlos, I love you. Let's catch up. And we did. And he's still in the renewable space because he was 10 years ago talking about what he's doing now, like, helping people get off grid and, grow food and not just in a small, but large scale as well. And so Carlos is a really beautiful man. He said, I know these ladies, they're doing this program and they're looking for renewable stuff and maybe you guys could hit it off. And I said, okay, that sounds great. And so he sent me an email about Ellie and Anna. And so the day after, I was still processing my ayahuasca journey with our shaman mentor and taking my notes and everything from the downloads and all that in that man's house as he prepared lunch for me and stuff so I could reintegrate. And I literally created the deck by like just on the fly because my renewable team, they're like, this is your baby, Sadhu, figure it out, just throw a deck together and we'll see where it goes. They kind of wanted me to prove myself.
A deck of what? A deck? What do you mean a deck?
Products, our tech products, like our renewable tech, like this some solar, flexible solar stuff, the infinity racks, and like the SmartFlower, and we've since evolved from that. But I put it together kind of piecemeal, and I created that deck intuitively because I knew Ellie and Anna were women. First of all, I know women are 20,000 times more perceptive and sensitive and capable than men, and smart men and really amazing men know that. And then the rest of the men, I mean, you get what you pay for. Like we're dealing with those men that don't understand that actually. That's the issue, really. Anyway, that's how I met Ellie, is I passed that deck to her, and she looked at it. She said, great, I love it. Let's meet. And we did. And the rest is history, as they say. Right?
I need to know what the SmartFlower is, but I also want to know what we're going to jump all over the place today, y'all. So stick with us because you're welcome. I want to know SmartFlower, and then what was that event that was the largest human gathering of all time? Because I would have thought it was, I don't know, the Colosseum or some war or something. But you're telling me it was in India, I think you said.
Yep.
So those are my next two questions, and you can answer them in any order, in any way you like. I'm gonna sit back, relax, and enjoy you.
Okay, second question about the Kumbh Mela. I got that. Remind me of the first one.
What is the solar flower?
Well, the solar flower. So it is it's a solar array that basically the engineering of it is genius because it literally is a flower. It's an electrical, solar flower that literally opens up and it follows the sun, on a dial. And so at 9 a.m. it's here, and at 12 a.m. it's 12 p.m. it's there, and it basically follows the sun like that. And at night it literally closes up and then folds up. And in the morning it opens up like a flower, and follows the sun. So it's a gorgeous, solar, basically it captures solar energy, and it's this flower. And so, you can have many of them in a field, literally like sunflowers, or you can have one. And so that's the smart flower, it's called.
And the smart flower. And your company invented this, created this?
Our company, just so we can be clear on that, Energy Solution Pros. These are two colleagues of mine. Now, I'm not a CEO, but Dan Bernhardt and Liam Mulligan, those guys are at that level, and they've been in the renewable space for a long time. I've been on the kind of advocacy, what do you call that, activist kind of path for a while, and so I'm newer to the renewable industry per se than those guys, and so. Energy Solution Pros, they chose that name consciously and intentionally because they didn't want to just be the renewable guys, because that can kick up some political pushback, especially now, with what we're dealing with in the U.S. And we don't need to go into a rabbit hole on that. Everybody sees it clearly for what it is. It's just, we just got to ride that kind of ignorance out. But anyway, Energy Solution Pros, they're out of Dallas, is where Dan is from, and San Diego, where Liam is from, and Energy Solution Pros is a conglomerate of these amazing products and services in the renewable and or smart energy space. SmartFlower being one of them. We have things that are like, the infinity racks are beautiful. They're aesthetically beautiful. You can create like a gazebo that captures the sun, obviously. It's watertight, so you literally don't get rained on. If you create a parking structure, you're not going to get wet, and then you can have LED lights under there for growing, and it's very versatile, so for instance, these are kind of like the stable of products that we have, and and they chose that name Energy Solution Pros because it's not just about renewable, it's about being smart. It's being smart with our energy choices. And so if you've got to do a little bit, if you got to play the game a little bit and be plugged into the grid, at least you can offset it with a battery. If you don't want to go full solar, maybe you can really pay attention to how to make the water pressure and a water system more efficient, and we've got things for that. And so I geek out on this stuff because nature's always been a very primary value of mine. Nature, immersing myself in nature, but now after being a father, literally kind of protecting it to the best of my ability. And so that value system just launched me right into this lane of renewable energy, like seamlessly, because it was on the, health and wellness kind of space, helping people get that balance and that harmony inside themselves, and now I'm kind of doing that more collectively, but also with the renewable energy.
Yeah, and I got to look at that deck pack that you put together. It's beautiful, and some of those products, what I like about it is that they are sustainable, but they're also beautiful. The way that they're presented. So like, because we're at the point where we're going to be living amongst this tech. So let's make it something that's aesthetically pleasing, sleek. It doesn't take up a lot of footprint, and then we get to live with it and integrate it into our lives in like a really seamless way. Like one of the products I saw, it was like and it seems like so simple, but they've made it and they elevated, and it was like a street light. But this street light, it's a charging station. You can go there, you can charge your phone, you can charge your car, your e-bike, and it provides illumination to the parking lot, and it looks sleek and like everything about it. And that's just one product, you know? So like everything you guys have in that deck pack, it's like very well thought out. So it's not just, hey, here's some really fun, great sustainable products, which they are amazing, but also that we can have them around and they're going to work with our environment too. I think that's also really important moving forward, because things being visual and pleasing, that does another thing for our heart and our soul, So it's like, hey, I want more solar punk in our future, which is what that is. It's like taking everything that helps us electronically and then like integrating it harmoniously with the way we function every day, and not making it something that's just so like, here's a block and a brick, like how can we make it back to nature? Like let's
Yeah.
paint a green, let's make it look like a leaf, let's reflect what nature does already to maximize how can we use this? I love everything about that. That's what's
Did you just say the term solar punk?
Yes. Yeah.
I've never heard that before, but immediately I get it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it could catch on. My question, next question for you, Sadhu, and then we'll get back to the biggest event in the world, whatever. You keep bringing up interesting things that are just more interesting to me than some event that took place a long time ago. But
No, this was February.
oh Jesus. Okay, okay. Then let's talk about that. What was the event?
Right. Okay. It's called the Maha Kumbh Mela, and
Of course it was.
any of the listeners can look that up. It's quite extraordinary, and I've been to three of them, by the way. Right? They're in cycles of 12. They don't happen every year. They don't happen every 4 years. They happen once every 12 years on a cycle. And so the reason why they're called Maha in Sanskrit, Maha means great, and so Maha means great, like Mahatma Gandhi. He's the great Gandhi, right?
Okay. Okay.
And so the Maha Kumbh Mela. So Kumbha is, I believe, nectar, and then Mela is festival or celebration, right? So it's the grand celebration of nectar, and the nectar literally is love, and nectar is literally people coming together in their heart in the same time and space for the same thing, which is literally to do that, to literally proactively, intentionally connect for love and elevation, not just of oneself, but of every being in the universe. And so this isn't just like, oh, it's a nice concept. This has been happening in India for thousands of years. Even Autobiography of a Yogi mentioned it big time in that book. He tells a story where Yogananda is going to the Kumbh Mela and he meets Babaji, which is his sort of like, avatar, which was really in kind of what do they call that? Just kind of mythology. But he literally met Babaji at the Kumbh Mela, right? And it was this big. It's a chapter in the book, and it's fascinating. And I read that book in Los Angeles on Sunset Boulevard when my friend, who was a South African, really hipster kind of interior designer, gay guy, he was hitting on me, and I said, "That's not going to fly, but we can be buddies." And so we were. I love the man to death. He's one of my best friends, and so he gave me that.
I'm sure that happens to you all the time.
Never. But anyway, he gave me that book and I was reading it, and he interrupted me and said, "Oh, we have to go and do yoga with Gurmukh. She's so fabulous. She teaches the Red Hot Chili Peppers and Cindy Crawford." And I was like, "Okay, well, just take me there." And I was just reading through the book. And I did actually, he took me there and I met Gurmukh, and Gurmukh was my teacher. She was the teacher for the Chili Peppers. She was the teacher for Rick Rubin, and David Duchovny of the X-Files. And I ended up really she took me under her wing, literally. She literally scooped me up like I was her spiritual child. And that's how I got to India the first time. The first Maha Kumbh Mela I went to was in 2001. That's the first one I went to. And then now I've been to three of them. The last one, which is the third one, I went to in February. And that's where Ellie, we made the connection with the elders there, and like they filmed it and all of that. So this cycle has been going for me this is the third one. Now they progressively grow. Obviously, the first one in 2001 was the largest human gathering in history. Then the second one was the second largest gathering, you know what I mean? Or became the first. And then this one was the largest gathering because they're multiplying exponentially.
How many people?
600 million people went through that.
I'm sorry. What?
That's right. 600 million people. You can look it up.
Wow.
I mean, check this out for just like a visual to put yourself there. I flew in. I've been there before. I knew what I was getting into. If you ever travel in India, just on a normal day, you could drive past, or your bus could capsize over because it dodged an elephant. You know what I mean? And then there's like there's someone sort of weeping on the side of the road because their whole family, their rickshaw got turned over, and you're meandering through there, and there's like military, and they're blowing whistles, and then you have oxen and elephants and people wearing bare feet carrying their dead aunt to go burn them at the river, and like you're just trying to go and get a latte. You know what I mean? That could happen in India anywhere, anytime. But this thing, imagine millions of people like tributaries or veins, like going all to the same space, going in like that. And I got off the airport and I looked at I landed with my backpack and the gnome, that I travel with, like the travel gnome that like went with me, like this is for my kids. But anyway, that's another story. But I had the gnome in the backpack. Nobody. Like I knew Sadhvi was waiting for me at like, let's say the base camp, right? And so I just had my rupees, I had my mission, and I just walked out of the airport, found the first kid with a motorcycle and said, Kumbh Mela? He's like, yep. I'm like, okay, let's go. And I just sat on the back of the motorcycle and he just went in, I'm like, okay, we're riding by capsized rickshaws. We're riding by like, a little girl got literally run over by a car and the family's all freaking out and like the bus is turned over and the whistles are blowing. And I'm like, I got to get there alive, man. It took like,
Yeah, just to get there is like mission, just a
yeah,
mission in itself. Wow.
and I got there. And so that's, and it was what it was. Millions of people gathering in that place. And that was my third one. I wasn't a newbie. Sadhvi is like she's literally like my sister, she's on par with the Dalai Lama and the Pope and, King Charles and all that. And, when the King Charles was the prince, I happened to be in India and my friend Sadhvi, their ashram in India, they invited the prince over. It was a big deal. And they invited me, because it was a op. They knew that. They know how to work they know how to work the media just like you, Jonathan. And so Sadhvi and Swami said, Sadhu, you can join when the prince comes because it looks good. The white guy with the beard and the turban is going to be good for press. And it was, and literally when you see the Getty images of the Prince of England at that time, which is now the King of England, I'm sitting literally 6 feet away from him like this, like I'm there in the Getty image, right?
That's amazing.
Like in
That's so
between
awesome.
taking like like kind of selfies like this, like from just being silly, next to the King of England. Oh my God.
I'm running out of room on my page here of notes to ask you questions about. I have no more space on this page. I have a million questions, but I think my biggest one
Yeah.
is, what is ayahuasca like? What is that experience? And may I ask you a couple of questions about your experience? Because I've seen YouTube videos, I've read articles, and it creeps me out in the best possible way. And I don't mean creep, but I'm so curious about it
Yeah.
that I think it scares me a little bit, but I'm still drawn to it.
I understand. And you should be. It's humbling. That's the thing. Like if you were to, let's say, skydive off of the edge of a volcano, you know what I mean? And
Okay, yes, let's say that.
right? And you close to the lava as you could and then be pulled back, you know what I mean? But you had to go through that. You couldn't get close to the lava and put your face next to it and get pulled back unless you did it. You know what I mean? That's kind of like the thing. You're getting so close to truth that it's not always pretty, the truth. You know what I mean? The truth is the truth, and that's the human experience. Is like, that's the kind of the thing. Most people want the truth, but yet when we're faced with it, it can either be really beautiful and uplifting or it can scare the crap out of us and we literally shit our pants. You know what I mean? Or just fall over into a fetal position and just try to breathe until we can figure out how to integrate it, Ayahuasca.
Yeah. What did you actually see, experience,
Right.
hear?
It's incredible. I'm a yogi full time. Not like it was a part-time thing for me. I've been dedicated for decades. When I first went to India and I took the name Sadhu, that was very sincere and genuine for me. And I'm a yogi. That's how I live my life. I can quote unquote do yoga, but I live yoga. You know what I mean? Sometimes people come to a class, and I was a teacher for decades, and you're consciously and intentionally breathing, and that's what you do, and you have your experiences. I've been consciously breathing for 30 years. I'm doing it all the time. You know what I mean? Not every single breath is conscious, but for the most part, like 98% of my awake time, I am literally conscious of my breath coming in and my breath going out, right? And so when I did ayahuasca with this gentleman, and I can turn you both onto and your viewers and whatnot onto an article that was just recently produced in Rolling Stone magazine about ayahuasca. The story is incredible, and that was my journeyman. That was my guy. Julio was the guy that took me on my journey. That was Michael Capone's guy, and Rolling Stone just wrote an article about him. It just came out a couple months ago, and I can literally like, send it to you. I can drop it
Yeah,
in.
Please do that. Please do that. So still more questions. I want you to keep going. But
Yeah.
I'm also wondering.
Yeah.
So Sadhu is an adopted name.
Yes.
And if you're comfortable, and if you're not, that's okay. Are you cool telling us what it means and why you adopted that? Because not everybody goes around changing their names. That's got to be really meaningful. I mean, the most meaningful.
My passport. That's my passport. And so I believe I've been Sadhu longer than I was the name that my parents gave me at this point. And they have their feelings about it, but we all got to do what we got to do.
Right.
But when
Can you
I
tell us what it means?
yeah, when I got the name, I'd gone to India for the first time with Guru Mook, the teacher of the Chili Peppers and all that. And I'm there, and we meet like her guru, and I'd met him before, but we were in India. And in the meantime, I was observing the sadhus. I didn't know they were sadhus. I didn't know anything about Indian culture, really. You know what I mean? I was observing the sadhus and sadhvis. My dear soul sister, Sadhvi, that's the female equivalent of sadhu. And she was a Jewish girl from America, Stanford graduate, PhD. Now she's a nun in India. She's been there for, 3 decades herself, and she's a world spiritual leader herself. She's my dear sister, the godmother of my children. And so Sadhvi and Sadhu mean the same thing. When I was in India for the first time, I was fascinated by those sadhus and sadhvis. You can see them. They're clearly off the grid, that they're wearing orange or red turbans or loincloths or whatever, and they're just and in their society and their culture, they're the people that chose to go all in. They don't dabble with spirituality. They go all in to the point where they don't drive a car, they don't have a driver's license, they don't have a bank account. You can't, there's no address. They literally like to have rituals where they shave all their head and they have a funeral because they literally died to the world. They're in spirituality. And so I was observing them on my trip. I have my Radiohead CDs and things, and I have my stuff. And I was having my indie experience and freaking out and having all the meltdowns and all that stuff, but observing those people because I was truly fascinated with their vibe. Wow. And then at the end of the trip, we meet like the guru guy, and we're in his living room, and people are massaging his feet and fawning all over him. I'm like, okay, whatever, let me get my photo with the guy and everything, and taking it all with a grain of salt. But the big master guy, someone said, sir, some people here want to do their spiritual name. And he said, okay, anybody else? And I said, yeah, I'll sit. Sure, why not? And so the thing,
Why not? I'll get my spiritual name. Why not?
First date, and then he closed his eyes for a minute and he goes, I'll do. And I was like, all right, okay, cool. And so Guru Mook and her posse and all them, they were like, okay, Sadhu, let's go. And I've been that since that moment. When that happened, there was a circulation back in the States about the name Sadhu that was circulating around in those Kundalini yoga circles as like a newsletter. And the definition that I got from that newsletter at that time when I got that name was two things. Sadhu is one who's spiritual, one who's disciplined to God. And then the next term was more kind of slang or casual, a slave to positive habits.
Oh,
I've defined it for myself as like, I'm just a personal development human potential geek. That's what it is. Really. Nerd for human.
that's my favorite
That's a
one.
great name.
Right? So now getting back to the ayahuasca,
Yeah.
who, if that's the right term, did you see? What did it feel like? What
Yeah.
was that experience? And maybe you can explain what ayahuasca is for those who don't know.
Yeah, yeah. Now, my limited understanding of what it is, besides the esoteric experience that I had, is that it is a vine. It grows in the rainforest or what have you in South America mostly. I mean, they can cultivate it other places, but traditionally in Peru or Brazil or whatnot, it's a vine, a plant, and so they take this and they take the roots of the plant and they literally kind of boil it up with some other things and herbs, but primarily the roots of the ayahuasca. And Aya, I believe, means mother. And so when you're doing the ayahuasca, it is like you are communing with Mother Nature herself, not an intermediary, not maybe or conceptually. It's like literally like you are one on one with Mother. You know? As it is, as she is one on one. Everyone has their own experience of that. So that's nuanced. It's really, I'd say they're probably generic kind of things like, you're induced to kind of throw up, and it's also metaphoric for your like you're purging out things that are blocks or things that were sitting in the back of your subconscious that you pushed back or that that you've numbed out over the years or whatever with distraction or whatever they are, addictions or habit patterns or tangents. You literally kind of purge them out and you kind of see what was behind that. Maybe it's like, okay, wow, I was numbing myself with the alcohol because my mommy dropped me and I didn't feel safe. And from that moment, I was trying to like, nourish myself with comfort. And that's kind of the insights that people have, a pattern of relationships that's just crippling them for decades. And all of a sudden they see like, wow, that was because when I was in the fifth grade, all those kids taunted me in the bathroom and made fun of me while I was naked or whatever it was. You know what I mean? It just latched in there, and all of a sudden you're free from it. Those are kind of generic sort of experiences. My experience was that, first of all, Will kind of gave me the dose, or a couple of doses, and I was sitting there like a yogi because that's what I do. I'm just sitting there like watching my breath and as if my heart's breathing, and I'm sitting there for a while. And he checks on me, he goes, "You're doing all right?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm good." He goes, "Okay, I think it's time for another dose." Like, okay. So he gives me another dose, and then that dose, I was like sitting and I just went, "I'm gonna lay down." And I just went, just laid out. But then I laid down. It was like my breath got really slow, and I was like, barely kind of in my body at that point. I was super expanded, and like that is being off grid for me. That was my experience being off grid. I was no longer kind of bound up by my version of what was going on in life or who I was. It was just this bigger bandwidth. And so in that bigger bandwidth, I was able to just sort of like see it, but you don't really process, you do process it in real time. But when you kind of come down from that, that's when the insights. I took my notes, and like the the biggest breakthrough actually was like silent manifestation is instantaneous, which means like if you just feel true about something or you commit to something or you have that genuine, clear, simple intention, you don't have to say a word to anyone. You don't have to write it. You don't have to shout it from the rooftops. As long as it's genuine, that's instantaneous manifestation. It might take 20 years to pan out, but it is done. Just that pure, silent, unadulterated, no noise, no distraction, just aligned, you know, alignment with whatever that was, whether it was a revelation or a commitment or an intention. When it's just silent and that pure, it's a done deal. And that was the main thing that I got. Of course, there were things about my wife and my children and all of that. And Julio, after the day in the morning, the day that I made the deck for Ellie and Hannah, it's like I was writing my notes and processing all that stuff. And I literally, like, I'm sitting here with you right now. And those notes, no shit, are literally in this binder right here next to me, because that's like, it's a guiding North Star for me, so, and then when Julio was counseling me, he said, I gave you enough ayahuasca to knock out a horse, man. And you were still
I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh.
horse.
That's great.
You had to let go and go down. I was like, okay, so we did.
Is that because you were so stuck on whatever you want to call it, this plane, this vibe, and couldn't let go? Is
No,
that why it took so much?
no, it's not that. He actually was in a meditative space also because that's how they do it. He's slightly dosed. He doesn't really do a lot of it, but they do enough to kind of hold space. And that's his place, is to hold space and let you go where you need to go, but be transparent enough to be able to, facilitate that, and the boundaries are kind of, laid down. And so it's just that I'm very stable in my awareness. I mean, it's I can hold a lot of contrast. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I'm like, you could throw a lot at me and you're not going to piss me off. You will eventually, but it takes a lot. It takes a lot to rile me and kind of make me reactive, or get scared, or want to give up. You know what I mean? Because I've developed that. It's not that it's my bandwidth. That bandwidth is in all of us. I have developed a capacity to allow myself to have access to it. You know what I mean? I haven't added on. What my gift for myself is, that I'm very aware of, is I've limited distraction, right? I didn't do anything miraculous. What I did was I methodically have limited distraction. That's all.
You and I are the complete opposites. Like I'm on the highest dose of Adderall extended release that they're willing to prescribe.
Right,
And even that doesn't eradicate all
right,
distraction.
right.
And it's honestly why I've looked into ayahuasca. I don't have the guts to do it, or at least I didn't before chatting with you. But what's that?
Here, Julio, he can he can serve you, and you in a group, and it's small, and so
I would love to
I'll
do
hold
that.
your hand, Jonathan. I'll hold your hand and we'll go do it together.
Have you done it too?
I haven't, but I've always been interested.
Okay. Oh, I mean, listen, I want to try it. I'm gonna have to do like the pea drop size, but like just a little bit first. But
That's what maestros are for. That's their job. That's their service. Julio is a servant ultimately. You know what I mean? He's a servant. That's
And
what.
I'm going to keep you safe. Make
I
sure you don't
well,
go overboard.
that's the thing because when I see YouTube videos and read articles about this, looking at it seriously, some people say they see aliens or they see whatever, and they believe it. For me, I just want to go back to like the McDonald's play place of 1997 or 19 or whenever I was like I want that kind of just
I
release.
know that you get to choose what happens once you go down that journey.
Correct. Correct. And so my question is, what do we see? Is it different for everybody? Because I feel like it's like a kaleidoscope that I would see.
It could be all of the above, man. It's whatever you need to see.
Oh my God.
What you need to see.
Part
That
of the
is
lesson, Jonathan, is letting go and letting
It,
yourself do it.
it's the thing. Just like God won't give you more than you can handle. You know what I mean? And so it's the same with that. It won't give you more than you're able to integrate at that time. It'll give you a big chunk for sure. It'll humble you, you know, but like it won't be so much that it will destroy you. If you're in the right set and setting, also, you can't be doing that stuff like in a suburb, with some like, wannabes. You need to be with some people that know what the fuck they're doing. Excuse my language, but it's real, man. You know?
look, I love the language, but I get you because it doesn't seem like something you could sit at a Starbucks and do between Zoom meetings.
Exactly. And look, if you're sitting in an airliner, you know what I mean? You want your pilot to have his shit together. You
Yeah.
Yes.
you don't want like someone got certified in the mall, flying your airplane. You want someone that knows what they're doing.
Hmm.
Or you don't come out alive.
The mole certified pilot. Right. I would not be comfortable with that at all.
I could save $300 and go with this airline, or I could actually go with the legit pilot.
Hmm.
Wow. Again, I've got a million more questions. I'm not gonna ask too many more because I know Loritza, you probably have some. I know I've been dominating, but I'm just so fascinated. Ellie, I get it now. I get it. I get it. What do you think, Sadhu? What do you think holds people back the most from actually caring and taking steps towards being a better resident of this planet and taking care of this living, breathing rock that we're all floating on? That's A. And then B, what is the simplest way to get started?
I see the propaganda of distraction is really They call it propaganda of distraction, right? When any of us, like, if any of us, if you or Loritza or Ellie or me or my neighbor or my housemate right now were to witness like a baby, you know what I mean, being assaulted, your whole body would scream, "Oh my God, that's so wrong." Your whole body would scream that. It would. That's nature. It's innate. And the propaganda of distraction is that somehow that's okay. That's not okay. It is not okay. It never was and it never will be. That is the root issue, right? Where that comes from or whatever, that's beside the point. The fact that it is, that's real, and it is what the biggest sort of issue is. The climate change, the wars, the economic sort of hoarding and subjugating, and we're superior and you're not, and all that nationalism and all that sort of stuff. It's happened throughout history. That's the issue, is this sort of divide and conquer thing, because it's a lack of compassion. Straight up, it's what it is. It is a lack of compassion, either through ignorance, but most likely it's been because of, like, it's been propagated. It serves the authority, the self-appointed authority figure. I'm superior and you are not. And so therefore, to keep this engine going, I'm going to have to distract you from that truth. Otherwise, it's going to just poke a hole right in the balloon and everything's just going to disperse. You know what I mean? If you know the truth,
Wow.
then that takes my power away. So for me to have the power, I've got to convince you and or propagate or distract you from the truth. Otherwise, all of you would revolt. You know what I mean? You would not just revolt, but you would rise above this bullshit that I'm trying to feed you, you know? And so
Wow.
my take on it is, the answer to that is not to fight the bully, is to love the bully. Love them, genuinely love them, because if we're kind of throwing stones at the bully, you know what I mean, going, "Oh, you're so bad," we're doing exactly what the bully wants us to do, is play that game with them. You know what I mean? But if, like, look, it's
Yes.
not easy, man. It is not easy, and rare to none of us can do it. You know what I mean? But to genuinely be compassionate towards the colonist or the corporate capitalist or the person that's literally chopping down the forest as we speak, you know what I mean? Or literally poisoning the ocean as we speak, you know? So that's happening. And my feeling is like, okay, great, renewable and all that stuff it's a given, it's the right thing to do, but like in a very practical sense, like, okay, being able to hold one another in that genuine love and forgiveness and cultivating compassion for ourselves and for others. It's not soft. You know what I mean? It's not like a soft skill, like, oh, well, it'd be nice to have. It is a fundamental, like, it's essential. And because that is lacking, is the whole issue of everything sort of falling apart and blowing up in our face. You know what I mean? It's not that tech is going to solve it or politics are going to solve it. No, let's just love one another genuinely, man. It ain't fucking rocket science. It's not. It is not.
Laritza, you have to ask a question now or wrap us up. I don't know. I am so, what's the word, enthralled. I
Uh,
get it. I get it. You must, Sadhu, you must write or record videos or vlogs or something. I feel like we need to get not necessarily the lesson, but that mindset. And as you said at the beginning, that heart out there. I've always seen it as, at least based on the whole Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? If all of my needs are met, then I don't mean me, but a person would say, then I can recycle or I can, pay attention to taking care of Mother Earth. But if I don't feel like Mother Earth is taking care of me, then why reciprocate? I feel like that's sort of at least that's where I was. I'm not saying I'm there now. And this show has been part of that learning process. But damn, man, you got something different. That's a different level. There's a calm and a peace and a strength there and a knowledge.
yeah, we definitely need more episodes with Sadhu.
Yeah.
And yeah, so we've heard some things about your past, that you were a teacher, and now you've joined Navari Films. You've traveled the world on their behalf in your own personal journey.
Yeah.
And so what can we expect from you moving forward? Are you teaching still, or are there any personal projects that you're working on that you can tell us about? And where can we go to find out more about you?
Yes. Oh, thank you, Loritza. Yes.
Where you can go to find out more about me, and also less about me and more about what I care about and more about what, what I'm inspiring is how I kind of prefer it. You know what I mean? My stories can be fun and all that stuff, but really what I prefer to be first and foremost is that issue of the heart. Heart intelligence is how I'm framing it. It's a thing, you know. Absolutely. And so now it's quantifiable. Okay. Now I prepared something that was like a definition, my working definition of heart intelligence, and I want to share it with you. So let me pull that up here because it will make sense. And in the meantime, Sadhu Serves is my website, sadhuserves.com, and
Can you
again,
spell that for us?
Sadhu, Sadhu's name, and serves, Serves, like Sadhu serves ice cream, or Sadhu serves this or that, but sadhuserves.com. And it will explain what heart intelligence is. And I'll just sort of like read a little bit about that. So heart intelligence is a measurable state of synchronized emotional, physiological, and cognitive coherence within individuals and across groups that increases cooperation, stability, and collective decision making. Right? That's what heart intelligence is. That is not a theory. That's not a concept. It is literally a state. It's a measurable state. When our heart and our brain are synchronized and coherent, then actually the higher centers of our brain, the things that are in our best interest, are all turned on. When we are not in that state, those centers and those functions of our brain, which are in our best interest and the best interest of each other, they're literally turned off. That's that's the kind of the downside to distraction. They're turned off. We don't make wiser decisions. We are more selfish. We are more fear-based. Adrenaline, cortisol are the main hormones that are running through our body most of the time. We're defensive. We're reactive. We don't have long-term thinking. We don't think things through like, oh, well, if I kick my neighbor's dog across the street because it pooped in the lawn, I'm not going to see the police coming and potentially arresting me. You know what I mean? They're not thinking that through. They're like, your dog pooped. I have the right to kick your dog because you pissed me off. Their brain isn't functioning properly. And look, I'm not speaking like I fell from a cloud, man, because I didn't. I lived in a lot of violence in my life, and I could tell you stories about my own personal experiences with my family that would make your hair catch on fire. You know what I mean? And so I know that kind of assault and stuff firsthand, and I also know the antidote of it. Basically, and it's not even rocket science as far as mystical sense. I've studied that stuff. I did that stuff. I did the mantras for days and days and months and years, and the practices and the breathing this and the breathing that and the ayahuasca and all that stuff. And man, it's all great, but you know what? A lot of it's just overthinking it. You know what I mean? Like your heart sends more messages to the brain than the other way around. Our heart is actually the more intelligent organ is the heart. It isn't the brain. The brain is the servant of our heart. As a genius as the brain is, it is serving the intelligence of our heart, which is far more intelligent, vastly more intelligent. When we're connected that way, incoherent, that means our breath and our heart and our wiring is all just doing what it's doing in real time. We are lit up. We're literally linked to our telomeres. Our immune function is going off the charts. Like, our telomeres are lengthening. We're lengthening our aging process and all that stuff. Very, very simple, man. And a 5-year-old could do this, guys. You could do this in 3 minutes. Literally, it is not hard. And my website literally spells it out. I am writing a book about it. I'm writing a couple of books about it. The project that I'm doing with Ellie, like Wandering with Sadhu, isn't about me having fun, man.
We haven't even talked about that yet. You need to tell us about this show.
Right. Well, that's kind of like the brainchild of, well, not even a brainchild, it's more of a heart child.
Well done.
Yeah, I love that.
There's
Full
is
circle.
like I want to say it's an illumination, not even necessarily a vision. It's just something that came up in my heart years ago. I did a little exercise with myself, like just blocks away from here, actually, in a resort, a Canyon Ranch resort. They had me as their like breathing Kundalini guy, and we got to use the spa. was 5-star spa, people. I mean, you think I wasn't going to be in there every single week for like 6 hours, every Friday? I was. I've worked it, milked it hard. And so one day, I'm like wearing my little robe and I'm on my chaise marble, like, slow heat kind of thing after I've jacuzzed and saunaed and cold this and hot that and all that stuff. And I'm laying there and I just had this kind of like weird, very quiet, very subtle epiphany. I just asked myself, like, wow, if you were to win the lottery, what would you do if you won the lottery? And my sort of natural dialogue with myself said, you would get on an airplane, you would travel around the world, you would talk to the elders of the planet, and you would ask them, what's the wisest thing for humans to pay attention to? Because you're elders, you've been around, you obviously know more than me as the little guy or the little brother, little sister, whatever. What would behoove humans to pay attention to? That was the vision. That was in 2009. It's 2026. Ellie, bless her heart, feels that. I've created a deck 8 years ago, guys. 8 years ago, I had a revelation. I freaked my wife out. She's still freaked out about it to this day. I said, wow, I know full well what my mission is. It's to listen to our elders and help humans listen to our elders so we really know what's important to pay attention to. And we can kind of have some semblance of harmony and figure this out, man. Again, it's not rocket science. If we can slow down and actually feel each other in real time as if we're sitting in a circle and the wisest among us would speak. And obviously it would be as obtuse for like someone like a politician to stand up in the middle of a circle of elders and go, I've got all the answers, guys, and we're going to do what I say because that's what we're doing, right? No matter what you feel is wise or whatever, we're going to do what I want. And I'm going to kick babies across the circle and I'm going to burn the fucking house down and you can just all wear it. That would not fly in a circle of people in real time, especially with like grandmothers and grandfathers and elders of the planet. You know what I mean? They wouldn't jump up and punch the guy, but they just go, bro, can someone chill that person out so we can get on with business and do what's really right for the best of us and the whole of us and not this fucking idiot. Sorry, we love them, but they need to be subdued until we can minimize the danger that they are to everyone else, and we can support them to get what they need also. But we can't let that idiot drive the show, right? It's not going to happen, and that so far is not happening. And that's the vision, was like, let's make that happen. Let's literally like, okay, we're smart enough to coordinate with each other around the planet, get everybody paying attention. We slow down, put our hands on our heart and breathe together in real time. The answer is there already, man. It's just going to emerge because it's there waiting. We're just too distracted and at each other's throats and bitching about resources to really just slow down, man. It ain't that hard.
I'm in
Amen.
yes, I'm in the process of going through your it looks like it's Mighty Networks that you use. I use that for my acting school. I'm in the process of joining. I've been going through Sadhu Serves.
Okay, right.
And I haven't even gotten to the bottom of the page yet. And already you're teaching us things just with the text on this page. And then listen, y'all, I'm not going to send you somewhere where you shouldn't go, okay? I'm learning about this stuff as we learn it together. You owe it to yourself to check out Sadhu Serves. That's Sadhu, SADHU, Serves, SERVES.com.
Right.
You need to check this out. Sadhu, I want to be respectful of your time. Can we have you back? Because this has been moving for me. Like this is on almost a too personal level. Like I'm reading some of this stuff that you're saying, and I'm hearing what you're saying, and I get it. I mean, the intellectual trap, shadow of AI, speed without wisdom. Damn.
Yeah.
That's one bullet point.
All right. Yeah.
There's so much we can learn here.
Will you come back, please?
Yeah, man, I would talk with you all day, brother.
You know what I love about this show and what this show is becoming, because it's very new.
Yeah.
We're not just talking to people who want to one day change the world. We're talking to people, and I include you in this, sir, probably at the forefront of it. People who are actively changing their environment and everybody they meet, who in turn changes their environment and everybody they meet. What I'm saying is you're actually doing it.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
That's got to feel amazing to you.
It does. And there's a term that I heard these girls, like maybe you guys know who they are. They're these lesbian girls, for the most part. One of them was one of the girls in the soccer thing that I think the blonde girl was girlfriends or married to one of the other girls, but they're friends with Elizabeth Gilbert. And they've got this podcast. It's very, very popular. But those girls are incredible. And so one thing that they talked about, which Elizabeth Gilbert talks about, so
It's
other
called
people,
Those Girls.
no. It's I don't know what it is, but
Oh,
Elizabeth Gilbert is friends with theirs. They're authors. We can do
I'll
hard,
look it up and I'll put the name like in the text here.
we can do hard things. I think that's the name of the podcast. Um,
Yeah. Oh,
and they're very
oh.
and they've got it's very popular. But Lennon Doyle or something like that's her name or something like that. But they're great ladies, and so and they toss this term around, lonely clarity. And so it's that thing that we all grapple with, like when, let's say, when you do see the truth and there's other people in the room, everyone's got their version of it, you know what I mean? But there's also the truth, you know what I mean? There's the truth with capital T's, and then everyone's version of it is like the truth with small t's, you know what I mean? But like we all feel the truth, and that can be a lonely place sometimes. But at the same time, someone asked me what this tattoo means, right? Today, I was out and about and someone came across these two young ladies here in Miami Beach, and they asked me what that tattoo mean. And I said, well, okay, I'll tell you what it means to me. It's like if our breath and God are the same thing, which I believe they are, that breath and that God and that love, let's say, is the invisible glue that holds the entire universe together, right? That's what our breath is. That's what our heart is. Our heart literally is the invisible glue that holds the entire universe together. It's not here. This serves that. It's not the other way around. Period. And it's that simple. If you breathe like your heart is breathing, it's that simple. You put your hands on your heart, you breathe, and you feel like your heart is breathing, and you can just reflect on what you appreciate in life. That's it. That is the most elevated, most direct, most profound practice there is on the face of the earth. That's what Buddhism is. Tibetan Buddhism is that. Christianity is that. Judaism, all of those things are that. At the end of the day, they are that. Your heart literally breathing.
I see why Ellie Loeb, executive producer, and Anna of Navari Films says, "Well, this guy needs a show." And I also see why they call it's wandering with Sadhu, right?
Yep. Wandering Sadhu, listening to our elders.
And that's because we could watch you and listen to you talk about anything. You could explain to us why there's this percentage of fluoride in our toothpaste, and you could do 3 hours on that. Like I'm telling you, I get it now. Ellie, I get it. And I think everyone, not just should, will end up watching Wandering with Sadhu, listening to our elders. I think it's also worth checking out Energy Solution Pros to learn about some of the things that things isn't the right word. Some of the
They're products. They're
products, solutions.
Yeah.
It's literally in the name. Solutions. My mind is blown right now, y'all. Like, can you tell? I'm gone. Like, I'm not gone. I'm so in what you're saying. I can't even do like the promo stuff. Energy Solution Pros. Just Google that and look at what people like Sadhu and his friends are doing to make a difference for today and for tomorrow and for the people that we maybe you've never met but need to show love to, because that's what this whole thing is about. If I'm learning what you're
Yeah. Can I tell you a quick
teaching.
story? Very quick.
Oh my God. Anything you want, man. Like I am.
He's like, drop some knowledge on me. What do you have to say?
Okay, you know the Don Juan stories of Carlos Castaneda, like back
Yes.
in the 60s. Okay, so Carlos Castaneda had this Don Juan character. Now, I met this gentleman named Grandfather. He was a Yaqui Indian. I met him in Los Angeles. He came through. He was supposedly the real like Don Juan of Carlos Castaneda. He was the guy. You know, he had like 20 wives and 50 kids.
Wow.
They did an I Love Lucy episode on that.
Right. And so, I mean, this guy had a workshop, and I went to it, and Joni Mitchell was there. And so I was just reflecting on this the other day. Joni was there, and she was hogging the space. You know, somebody like there's a circle of people, and it's really intimate. One person just keeps going on and on and on. You're like, Jesus, what? And I was like, man, I was like, Joni, shut the fuck up. And this is Joni Mitchell. You know what I mean? So I was just thinking that because it was funny to me. Like, fuck, I wish Joni would shut up. But anyway, I love her. She's a sweetie. But during that workshop, that man did something where we did math or something like that. And he said, your mission here is to serve the babies that are not even here yet.
And now you're doing that.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, serving those that are here, you know, I mean, serving for the good of whatever needs to be served.
Well, when he says babies, and I also feel like that's everyone because we're all children of the earth. So
All God's children, that whole thing, you know,
yeah.
all of life. It's not just humans are one family. All of life is just one family, literally with one heart.
And the heart thing is so real. The Heart Math Institute even was trying to measure the amount of energy that can come from the heart. And it reached their instruments max potential. And they're like, we're not even sure what the measurement is because it can go beyond our measurements. It's just maxed out our max capacity from our instruments, which is fast. When I learned about that, I thought that was super fascinating.
That's what the Heart Intelligence Collective is all about. And it's simplifying that. I'm not overcomplicating that because simple as possible. You know,
and we know when we go into a room, we can feel it.
That's right.
You can pick it up right off the bat if someone's not in a good mood, but that's what we say mood, but it's a reflection of their heart state. And we can tell right off the bat.
Not the brain waves that we're feeling. You know, I mean, when we're thinking of someone or we turn a corner and we feel someone looking at us and all that, our heart picks it up first. Then it tells our brain, hey, pay attention. But the heart is picking up everything first. And
100%.
You need to give us your Instagram, socials, anything that you've got where we can follow you and keep up.
Sadhu serves. It's the same IG. It's the same as LinkedIn. It's Sadhu serves. Sadhu at sadhuserves.com. It's all congruent, people.
Whatever you got, I want it.
Tell you honestly, Jonathan, like, you know, what we can do is like, I'll invite you right now to just
say that one more time. To do what?
put your hands on your heart, one on top of the other. It doesn't matter which ones. You two, Loritza, we can keep eyes open like this. We don't even have to close your eyes. You feel it there? Can you feel your heart beating under your hands?
Yes.
Okay, great. Do that as much as you can, right? Just in general, right? But you feel that now. Now imagine like you're taking in a breath. You can feel your breath coming in and going out?
Yes.
Imagine if your
Although I had to remind myself because I was not breathing for a moment.
So now just feel your breath coming in as if your heart was breathing. You can close your eyes if you want to, you can keep them open, but feel your breath coming in, your breath going out as if your heart is breathing. That is creating that heart-mind, heart-brain coherence. It is, right? Now, just as your heart is breathing, just reflect on what you really appreciate about the past 24 hours of your life. You know, or what you appreciate about our exchange so far, or your day so far. Just feel what you can recall as what you appreciate as your heart is breathing. If you just do that, just like that, for 3 to 15 minutes a day, it could be as minimal as 3 minutes a day. That's it, Jonathan. That is literally what the Tibetan Buddhists are mastering. That's what Christian Science is. That's what, esoteric Sufism is, literally. That's why Solomon said, guard your heart, right? That's what it is. Not philosophically, not conceptually. You literally feeling your heart in appreciation and or gratitude and or love in real time. That is it. Do not overcomplicate it. It doesn't have to be. Right? That's what Heart Intelligence Collective is. Okay, that's my mission on earth, is this. Exactly that.
That's beautiful. Yay.
I don't
I'm gonna
have
do that every
anything
day.
else.
For all
Right.
day.
That's simple. And if you need guidance, it's like right there on the website, man. Heart focused breathing is
Yes.
5 minutes on the website. Heart Intelligence Collective will have 15 minutes of that for people as individuals and couples, and then it's coming for families and all that. And all that stuff will be free in the membership, man.
It's free.
Yeah. There'll be stuff, like down the road, but that's free, man, because like we need to pass it around because it's there literally right under our nose. We're literally beating in our chest all day, every day.
Sadhu, I'm gonna message you and I'm gonna figure out how we can have you on again regularly.
Yeah,
I think this is the medicine that you won't find in the DSM-5 or whatever. This is something higher. You look like you want to say something.
I can invite Michael Capone, and he can perhaps be a guest of yours. My friend Julio, that was in the Rolling Stone article, the ayahuasca guy. He would be happy to speak with you if you like. These are personal friends of mine, and I'm happy to bring them to you.
As long as you're there.
Oh, I'd love it.
Wow. Loritza.
Then they can answer all your ayahuasca questions.
Well, and then some, but like,
yeah.
Look at what I'm a little emotional. Look at what in the past month this show has taught and the people that we've interacted with.
Yeah, some of the people on here are pretty amazing. Like I was telling just some feedback with Ellie about what you said, Jonathan, that the people here are actually walking the walk and talking the talk and doing things to actively move us forward, which is amazing to have such direct connection to such incredible minds.
This is actually changing me. This is making me feel and do and be aware of a different way, a better way, a more responsible, maybe a better word is accountable and present way of going through what we call life, but really like the day to day, those little tasks.
Yeah.
And Sadhu, man.
If you keep practicing what Sadhu has said and just keep being mindful as much as you can throughout the day, we'll get there. We'll get there.
Just keep breathing. Your heart's breathing, man. You become
that little something.
I'm a master of appreciation.
Just that right there. I don't mean to keep cutting you off. Sorry. Go. I'm just so excited. Go.
Become a master of your heart breathing like that, and become a master of appreciation. Everything will come into place. It will. Don't overcomplicate that. Please, for the love of God. You don't need to read volumes of esoteric science. Just become a master of appreciation and breathe as if your heart is breathing, and just be like, like we're all in the same heart. We all have the same heart. Just live into that, and that's it. And as much as Ellie perhaps would gush on me, I gush on those girls too, because my God, you know what I mean? They're created this container that we're all in also. And those ladies, like, there's a lot of entities and or energies out there that, that don't want harmony. They don't want it, and those ladies have persevered, where they could have given up. They could have been shut down. They could have been sidetracked, but they stayed in their heart and they stayed in their vision. And I literally kissed the ground that those ladies walk on, because they're doing what, they're acting and living with love. And that's what happens. And that's who they are. And that's why I love them so much.
Listen, we're gonna let Sadhu get back to his family. Check out sadhuserves.com and navarefilmsllc.com. My God, what an amazing show. Thank you so much, Sadhu. We'll see you all next time on EcoCulture.